right. Hi, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. So my name is Sarah Laru Mawaru. I am the chair for the Finnish-African Society. And in light of the recent pandemic this year, we're not having a physical event. Rather, we're going to have these recordings where we are having business insights with business experts and business leaders and industry leaders. And today we are having Esa Rantanen from Business Finland, all the way from Nairobi. So asante sana for joining us. So if Esa could introduce himself, and then we would look into our questions for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, and good evening for everybody from Nairobi. So my name is Esa Rantanen, and I'm working here in the Business Finland East Africa. So we're covering from Nairobi, East African countries, mainly in Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, and Ethiopia.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Esa, for joining us. So we'll go straight into our questions. And the first question, which is that you already mentioned the regions that you cover. So looking at these regions that you cover as a Business Finland consultant, in your opinion, how would you rate the overall sort of government response to the pandemic? And maybe if you could share some insights, some cases, for example, in Nairobi.
Yeah, no, I have been the pandemic started here like end of March. And that time actually there was a totally lockdown, and Kenya closed the borders, and then at that time I came to Finland, and I was in Finland until beginning of August, when the border was open again, and then I came back to Nairobi. And actually all the East African countries except Tanzania, they have been very strict with this pandemic. Like in Kenya, there is mandatory using the face mask. There has been curfew all this 6 months time. When you go shopping, you cannot get served if you don't have wearing the mask. You not even can enter the shopping centers. They measure your temperature everywhere you go. Every time I go to home, they measure my temperature. Every time I go to shop, they measure my temperature. And every shop they ask you to wash your hands, or they give some how you call this,
Sanitizers,
sanitation liquid. So they are very strict, and I think in East African countries, Rwanda has handled the whole thing the best. Because the Rwanda is the only African country now. The Rwandans are free to come to Europe without a quarantine. So the figures have been there very low. And also in Kenya, the figures, they actually start peaking in much later than in Europe and Finland. The peak time was here actually in August, and then the figures went down, but now they are peaking again. And now actually the government is tightening up the measurements, and the curfew was just coming more longer than it was. And only problem in the region is the Tanzania, because the Tanzania, they haven't published any figures since May. And after that, the Magufuli said that there is no corona in Tanzania. Okay. So, and that's a little bit problematic for traveling wise, because you go to Tanzania, but because there's no corona, but of course you have to have test and everything. But I don't know. And actually the Tanzania is coming a little bit like they lock themselves, because nobody wants them to come over the border, because there's no real figures available.
Okay, but in your opinion, you think overall the governments, at least in Kenya, for example, they seem to have done a good job with putting stricter measures, to curbing it, even though there is a peak still, but they're quite strict with it, you would say.
Yeah, they are very strict. Actually, the measurements are here much stricter than they are back in Finland, because there's no discussion that are we using mask or not. There's an order that you use mask, and there's an order that is a curfew, and it was like also the bars and bars was closed like 5 months. And the restaurants were open, but they are not allowed to serve alcohol. Now the bars are open, and also the restaurants are open, but they are only until 9. And this is quite strict. much stricter than back in Europe.
Europe. Okay, so I'm guessing this is definitely affecting the hospitality industry then. So then that goes then to the next question that according to a recent publication, that 98% of SMEs contribute 30% to the job market and 3% to the GDP. So in your opinion, which sectors have thrived? Because from your example, so this seems that the bars and the restaurants seem to have been, slightly hit, but have you seen any sectors that, might have thrived during the pandemic, and what factors could have contributed to their success?
Now, of course, now that very was a lockdown, and of course the many sectors were hit very, very hard. Like here in flower business, tourist business, everything was hit very hard. Hotels, but now after the lockdown ended in beginning of August, now actually everything is, also the tourist sector is gradually coming up, not so much, but like also the agriculture business is already, actually they are selling flowers even more than before the COVID currently, and the COVID hasn't changed the fundamentals of economy. So the construction works are going on, people are working. Of course, there's some people, like I'm working half home, half in office, and also the other people who are working in the offices, mainly they are home at the moment. But if you're walking in the shopping center, I think the people are quite positive about the economy, that they are opening the new shops and opening the new restaurants, and people are moving. So I think it's gradually coming back, and I think it's the way we have to just learn to live with this for a while. And I think this helps here because the measurements are quite strict, so people are acting very responsible way. So it's also giving you a possibility to live almost like a normal life.
Yeah, okay. So I think then the factor then here is the government's stricter policies then, and the curfew, if you would say then. So, but that's good to know that, life is normal and people are taking it really serious. But that's good to know. Okay. What about the healthcare, for example? Has the healthcare sector, has it remained the same, or did you see any trends or any changes, particularly in the healthcare?
Yeah, no, that was actually in the beginning. It was like a big fear was that actually that the COVID starts spreading very fast in Africa, which didn't happen. And of course, it was also people were afraid that if it starts spreading very fast, then the healthcare system cannot handle it. But that also didn't happen in the beginning. Now it's peaking. Now I think the healthcare system is a little bit struggling today. So of course, if we're talking about how many intensive care units are in Africa, they are a small fraction of those what we have back in Europe. But so far so good. So they are not 100% in use at the moment, at least in Nairobi. Okay. And of course, the government has bought more equipment for the hospitals during these last 6 months. But of course, if this is not Kenya, if there's some scandals, there has been a scandal of that, the misuse the money and misuse the protection and everything. So, but we will see what happens, and I hope it's gonna, because now we are more strict measures again. Hopefully, this is gonna be over soon.
Wonderful. Well, that's really good to hear on a very positive note. Okay, so moving then to the next topic or then question. So looking at the Kenyan population's trajectory, do you see that there's a tangible government policy? Because if they've been able to, issue such stricter policies, do you see tangible policies that can tackle the growing youth unemployment, and then do you think that there could be some active role that Finnish companies could maybe play in building this ecosystem to maybe encourage youth and entrepreneurship? But do you think, or have you heard in your circles some things that the Kenyan government might be doing to tackle the youth unemployment at the moment?
I don't know if it's especially for youth. Actually, in case of Africa, everything is youth employment because people are so young here. So it's more or less everything. All the employment is youth employment, but the Kenya government they have a program called Big Four, where the sectors where they tackled, and one is the manufacturing, and they try to get more investment in the country and develop the manufacturing, which is creating the jobs. Then food security is another one, which is also very important because that is the quite big part of the people most of the people actually working in the agricultural sector, but also the government is trying to add the value addition for food sector, and I think that is the one big opportunity also the Finnish companies, the whole value chain from primary agriculture for cooling, for food processing, for food safety, for packaging, for retail and logistic issues, that I think a lot of things where Finnish companies can contribute. Then healthcare is one thing also, which is in the Big Four agenda, and this is also one sector where Finnish companies can contribute quite a lot. And there has been some activity just recently, actually both in food sector and healthcare, and then affordable housing. Also, we have some companies from Finland who are tackled for this affordable housing, but it's not only the affordable housing. If we talk about the business opportunities, any kind of high housing, like also the high-end construction is a big opportunity for Finnish companies.
Wonderful, wonderful. So
and then of course that if I could make the decision, I would promote more the Finnish investment for the African countries, and especially Kenya, because I think that is the only way to create the employment is to invest the country, but that we are very behind for the other countries currently.
Okay. So in your opinion, you feel then aside these Big Four sectors, and Finnish companies and also business partners can look into maybe co-investing perhaps with Kenyan companies as well. Okay, this sounds interesting. We'll definitely ask for more information then when we put out this video, so that if there are companies that are interested, they can always reach out to you in Nairobi for more information. Yeah.
And the companies have been, that I have to say that during this COVID time, actually we received a lot of inquiries, actually even more inquiries coming now in than before the COVID. I think maybe the other markets has been silent and the companies are now looking for the Africa. And I think the Africa is more now in media also back in Finland. So actually we get very much inquiries from Finnish companies.
Okay, and then on that topic, do you think that the trend is because now, other markets are, silent, and do you foresee
that might be the one reason. Might be the one reason that other markets are silent, so people finally notice that there's a huge continent south here with the 1 billion people.
Yeah, but then is there a fear? There's a discussion that there might be the issue that after things change, then the interest towards the continent might also dwindle. Do you think that might happen, or will the interest stabilize?
I think I hope so. It's stabilized, and I think in that Finnish companies that actually from Finland we should see some of the African countries as a similar export countries than any other export countries. Of course, not all the African countries, but if we look like countries like Kenya, South Africa, Zambia, Nigeria, and then North African countries like Morocco and Egypt, they are more or less like similar countries than, like, for example, South and Eastern Europe countries and Rwanda. So that it's like a normal export market, and there is very much demand the same things what companies are exporting elsewhere in the world.
Okay, thank you so much for that comment. So with that said, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us as we are closing the year? Any final?
I hope we get. I think it's the same thing for everybody. Everybody hope that we get rid of this corona as soon as possible, and we are back in the normal thing that we can meet face to face, and we have the P2P meetings, not only over the Skype or Zoom or Teams or whatever. So we starting here now gradually start traveling. I'm going now. I'm coming actually back to Christmas to Finland for Christmas time. But before that, I will go for the Rwanda for business trip, and we start looking for the business. And actually, we are try to get like a business delegation from Rwanda to Finland in the beginning of next year, and very soon after that, also the business delegation from Finland to Rwanda.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's good. Yeah, so thank you so very much for this insightful
Thank you, Sarah.
conversation. And we will ask you for more details on the Big Four, which is the Kenyan government's, bid on, tackling youth unemployment or entrepreneurship. And then also, if you have any other information that, might benefit our members and our audience, we'll definitely do that. And we would also be sharing your contact details. So thank you so much, Asante Sana, and
Thank you. Welcome to Kenya. There's still already companies coming here. So we are more safe here than you are back in Europe. If you look.
We will remember that and be visiting you. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Sarah.